If just one or two of your keypads are not able to submit a vote, so just a couple are not working and all the others are, then most likely this video is not for you, because we're going to look at when the configuration of the receiver, the base station, is the problem. So if most of your keypads are voting just fine and a couple aren't, that's not the receiver, that's definitely the individual keypad, so that will be handled separately to this. So let's look at a scenario where you pick up your keypads, press a number button, and instead of a number lighting up on the keypads, what you see is the little red LED going round and round in circles and eventually going to a lowercase t. What that means is timeout. So the keypad has tried to send the number that you've pressed. It's not had confirmation from the receiver to say that that vote has been collected. So in that case, there's either an issue with the receiver, such as it's not getting enough power through your USB or something, or it's failed. Very unlikely. The receivers don't tend to fail. We expect them to last years and years and years. But that's one possibility. More likely, there's a mismatch on the configuration of the receiver versus the keypads. So what needs to happen? The keypads use RF, just like walkie-talkie radios. They're sending radio frequency digits into the receiver. So the receiver collects those and tells the voting software how everybody voted. So just like a walkie-talkie, if I've got a walkie-talkie and I'm on channel 1, but you're on channel 3, when I speak to you, you can't hear me and vice versa. So we've got to make both of our channels match. So one of us would change ours to channel 3. So now we're both on channel 3 and everything's great. With the keypads, they are by default on channel number 75. Now, it's possible that yours are on a different channel. There might be a reason that that got changed historically, but in general, they're on channel 75. So let's have a look at how we get the receiver onto the right channel and what we're looking for when we're doing our setup and test. So first thing to note, if you're not running a test screen and you're not running a vote, your keypads will go round and round in circles and show a T, because the receiver is not active unless you've got an active vote process running. So let's open a test screen, and that should enable the keypads to be able to get that response back from the receiver. So we go into the CLiKAPAD menu, down to setup and across to keypads, and it has a look for the receiver, and everything here looks good to me because the background of this cell is white. Now I just want to show you something first. If you get to this stage, what I've done, I've disconnected that receiver and I'm going to hit refresh and let it look again. If that USB port isn't working, if your cable's faulty, you will see a red background like this, and that means that this cannot be seen, this receiver. And the only thing that it would let you do, if you click on it, it gives you one option, which is to remove it. You can't do anything else. You can't change the configuration because it can't see it. So I'm just going to plug it back in again. And this would be the first step that I'd ask you to take. Just plug it back in, give it a moment for your laptop to recognize it, click on refresh, and hopefully at this point it's white, which means it can be seen. Check that your low and high keypad numbers are right. So that relates to the stickers on the back of the keypads. So in my example, my lowest keypad is number 1 and my highest is 250. So at this point, still, your keypads are not going to get a response from the receiver because there's no active voting process happening. To kick that off, if we press test, now press a button on your keypad. If at this point you don't see any votes come in, so I've grabbed a keypad, I've pressed a button, and I don't see any votes come into here, and that LED is going round and round on the keypad, that would tell me that I've got a bit of a communication problem. So I'm just going to hit exit, and I'll show you where we go to check the configuration. Now mine, had I pressed a button, would have worked because I actually do have the configuration set correctly for my system, but let's imagine I don't. So what we're looking for, there's a blank space here, and there's a sort of magic key sequence that will give you 2 more buttons in this area. So if yours looks like mine and this is blank, if you hold down Control and Shift and then press C and let go, you'll see you've got these extra buttons, and the one that we want to use is this one here, settings. So this is where we go to set our configuration. So we're looking at the circuit configuration. So what should the whole system be on? And the first thing to check is the current config. So this box on this side tells you what the settings are now. And in 99.9% of cases, the session ID would be 0. There's no good reason for you to change that. And the default channel is 75. Now, if on your one, this says channel 6 or channel 40 or something, if you type in 75 in the new config side and say apply to base, and then just close this window, go back to test, press a button on a keypad, and you'll see that they're now working. If that hasn't resolved the issue, then it's possible that your keypads are not on channel 75. So what you'd need to do is interrogate the keypad to find out what channel those keypads are on, and repeat the process that we just did in order to set this to the same channel.